We had a medal hope in the Nordic combined skiing event go out the window today with a controversial judge's decision, and the top woman in the luge from the United States crashed into a wall. So it has not been a very good day for American competitors, and weather continues to be a very big factor in the games in Sarajevo. The city had no snow when these games got underway. Now there is too much snow almost. A wicked snowstorm, the worst they've had all winter there, has dumped 4 feet of snow in the mountains. There is 1 foot of snow in the city, and it continues to cause havoc with these Olympic Games, in particular with the skiing events. Ed Pickett now reports from Sarajevo via satellite and updates us on the weather and the downhill conditions.
The situation in Sarajevo tonight is that it's still snowing, but the high winds which have hit here have been decreasing rapidly. And tonight officials announced that they want to hold the men's downhill tomorrow. At least they'll try if the winds drop a little bit more. Tonight there are 800 to 1,000 people up on that mountain clearing from 5 to 10 feet of snow away so that they can hold the downhill. Now there are a lot of factors that can influence a downhill: terrain and weather conditions. Another is the draw. And the bad news is that tonight Bill Johnson, the U.S. best hope for a medal in the men's downhill, has drawn the #1 starting position. Not a good spot in a soft course. But Bill Johnson, who we talked to earlier today, remains confident.
It's my kind of course, and I've been winning the bottom section pretty steadily by half a second and even more sometimes. And when you got that much of an advantage in a certain spot, you know, usually a downhill course is won by hundredths and stuff like that. And when you're winning a section, you know, consistently like that, all you have to do is make it through the turns with enough speed, you know, to be even just close to the top guys.
When the downhill is finally run, whether it be tomorrow or the next day, how is Bill Johnson going to feel in that starting gate? What is going to be the keys mentally for you? Concentration, aggressiveness? What would be the keys?
I'd say mostly aggressiveness. I got to get through the first 30 seconds and be ahead by at least a second, and then the part that I've been having trouble with, I'll just you know, try and just nail those turns, and then that'll be it. From there down to the bottom, I've been winning all week, so I should have no trouble. I'm mainly just concentrating on what's ahead on the course.
Whether anyone will get a chance to compete in the men's downhill tomorrow depends still on the weather conditions and on the wind. Back to you, fellas. This is Ed Pickett in Sarajevo for ESPN.
Thank you very much, Ed. And another problem for the U.S. Olympic team today. Nordic skier Pat Ahern felt that he was robbed of a chance of winning or being in a position to win a medal by what he called political judging today. It was in the event that combines jumping with cross-country skiing. Ahern had the longest jump in the 70 meters, 292 feet, but the officials wiped out the entire first round. They felt the jumpers were landing too close to what they call the flat part, where accidents occur most frequently. On his next jump of 273 feet, Ahern was in 3rd place. Then he jumped 282 feet and was in 1st place, but officials canceled that round with only 4 of 28 jumpers left to go. When it was all said and done, Pat Ahern was way down the list in the Nordic combined, and it was a competitor from Norway that was in the top slot. This is after the jumping competition. Tom Sandberg of Norway compiled over 214 points. Sergei Cherkarov of the USSR after that. Thomas Mueller of West Germany. And Ahern, who had led this competition for so long, had dropped down to 16th place with 195 points. Kerry Lynch after that, who really we had expected to do much better than that, was 22nd. And Michael Randall out of Minnesota was in the 27th spot. George Grand and our skiing expert Peter Graves will be coming up in a few minutes to analyze what happened in that Nordic combined today, and we'll have some comments as well from Ahern and his thoughts after he was eliminated from the top 3 positions. We'll have more on that controversy coming up in a minute, and we'll update you on the hockey situation in Sarajevo right after this break.
The party the office was throwing for the personal computer was getting a little dull. It seemed compatibility was the problem, until one latecomer arrived with a stunning solution, the Sperry PC. It ran all IBM-compatible software and communicated with something a lot of people had in common, the main computer. Sperry's, IBM's, or both. The Sperry PC. It's what the personal computer should have been in the first place.
1984 is the year of aerodynamics. Every car company seems obsessed with it. At Volvo, we're concerned with aerodynamics, too. In fact, the Volvo 760 GLE is very aerodynamic indeed. But through all this development and testing, Volvo engineers never forgot one thing. No matter how aerodynamic you make a car, it could someday encounter something a little stronger than the wind.
If you play your video recordings a lot, you need durable videotape. Maxell HGX.
While you're away, Sonny, don't forget your exercises. 1, 2.
With HGX, you can play your recordings over
1, 2.
and over
1, 2.
and still get a great picture. Maxell HGX. The long-term videotape.
1, 2.
Maxell. It's worth it. Bigger engines were easy on oil. But today's smaller, higher revving engines are tougher. They can break down an oil's viscosity within 1,500 miles. That's why there's Castrol. Tests show Castrol suffers no significant breakdown of viscosity even after 5,000 miles. So use Castrol, because if you make things too hard on your engine could make things hard on you. Castrol, engineered for smaller cars.
Hopes of the United States ever winning a medal in the Olympics in the hockey competition this year officially ended today when it ended up USA 3 and Norway 3. The first points the U.S. hockey team has gained in this Olympics, but after consecutive losses to Canada and Czechoslovakia, and now this tie, the USA is officially eliminated with a 3-3 tie. They only have 2 games to go. They won't get them into the medal round, but they need to try to win one to keep from becoming the first USA hockey team to go through a Winter Olympics without coming up with the win. Here's how the scoring went period by period. Norway got the first goal. Bergson got it at 11:31. Paul Gay countered for the U.S. to tie the game. And then Pat LaFontaine got his first goal of these Olympics, and USA led it 2-1. In the second period, 1 goal was scored. It was by Elgensen of Norway and tied it up at 2-2. Then in the third period, at 7:11, Norway took a 3-2 lead. But Olczek came back, assisted by Jensen and LaFontaine, at 9:23 of the third period. The USA had fought from behind in that last period to gain the tie. Norway, not a strong hockey team, had been outscored 26-6 in its previous 2 games. They lost both of those games. Other final scores today in the Group B, which is the United States group. Czechoslovakia remains undefeated. They trounced Austria, as you see, 13-0, 6 goals in less than 7 minutes. And in the other game involving the group, it was Canada winning over Finland 4-2. They are 3-0. The Finns had led that game 2-1 going into the third period. In Group A, the Russians are the favorite for the gold medal. They win over Yugoslavia 9-1. They're 3-0. An upset in one other game in that group, however, as Italy beat Poland by a 6-1 score for Italy's first win. Sweden and West Germany skating off to a 1-1 tie. So that wraps up hockey today in Sarajevo. As reported earlier, the United States medal hopes in the Nordic combined skiing suffered a blow today when Pat Ahern, who was in first place, had 2 of his 3 jumps wiped out. George Grand, joined by Peter Graves, with more on that controversy. Gentlemen?
For the first time in 3 days Saturday, we had the opportunity not to have the weather as the major story at Sarajevo, but still the news was not good news. And it is news that in terms of our 2 best bets as far as the Nordic combined competition was concerned, really wiped them out of the picture. We're talking about Pat Ahern, and we're talking also about Kerry Lynch, both of them, by virtue of the fact their previously good runs were wiped out, are really out of the competition now.
George, I'm not happy about it, and it's continued frustration for American athletes in Sarajevo. What happened is simply this. Pat Ahern, going into the second round, was in second place. He had 2 of the best jumps in the competition. They started going down to the K point, which marks the point where the landing hill begins to flatten out. Anytime you get jumps down there, the jury must meet and say whether the competition should continue. Now, there were only 4 jumpers to go in that second round. Instead of letting it continue, they canceled that second round. What that means is those great jumps that Ahern got to go into second place were all for naught.
The point here being it came awfully late in the competition.
George, I've followed ski jumping a long time, and this is very unusual. With only 4 jumpers left to go, I'm surprised they just didn't let it go through the end of the second round, then make the decision to move the starting gate down.
Obviously, we look at it one way, but the man who in particular was affected by this, Pat Ahern, reacted to the judge's decision in this manner.
It's really unusual, too. I've seen him call back 1 ride, but never 2, and especially in our circumstances, we had 95% of the competition over, and there's only 3 guys left, and there's only one of them who had a chance at all, and for some reason they decided to start it over, which really took the U.S. in the shorts.
In that footage, courtesy of CBS Sports, it's pretty clear the way they feel about it. Number one, why not protest on the United States side?
Frankly, I'm surprised a protest hasn't been filed, but we've been looking at the wire service reports. They must protest within 2 hours. There has been no protest. We don't know why, but it looks like what could be construed as a political action on behalf of the jury to help some of their own countries get better positions in this. And George, I'll tell you, this has got to take the wind out of the sails of Pat Ahern and Kerry Lynch, who went in with some legitimate medal possibilities.
You say political, and that's not something that you've cooked up. That's something that the American people are saying over there now.
Jim Page, the Nordic director for the U.S. ski team, has called it a possibility of this being a political, motivated decision on behalf of the judges to favor some of their own people. Pretty strong words, but in fact, I think he may well be right on this. As far as I know, this is quite unprecedented in ski jumping.
Put it in perspective again, the first half of the Nordic combined is over. The second half will take place. The cross-country half will take place tomorrow. But with this handicap, United States hopes are certainly dim at this point in time. To put it in perspective, the whole cross-country race will take about 45 minutes. The penalty of losing today will put Ahern about 1.5 minutes behind the starters, the leader going in, and it'll also put Kerry Lynch 3 minutes or more behind the starters. So, as you can see, the chances for medals for the United States are pretty dim for Sunday. Peter, thanks again for being with us here on our Olympic Update. We'll be back with more on this ESPN Special Olympic edition of SportsCenter, but first, let's take a look at Sunday's schedule.
Week. Barron's tells you more than what has happened or is happening in investments. Barron's tells you what will happen. A smart investor can take it from there.
You can get the next 26 issues of Barron's for $36. Just call 800-554-9000. Call today, and you'll also get as a bonus the helpful booklet, The ABCs of Market Forecasting. That's 26 issues of Barron's, plus the bonus booklet for just $36. Call 800-554-9000 now.
ESPN's February features a blizzard of sports excitement. The USFL is back. Defending champion Michigan kicks off our coverage against Chicago in the season opener. Don't forget the greatest basketball schedule ever. We've got more than 50 games on tap with Georgetown, North Carolina, and Kentucky, just some of our national notables. February sets the pace with SportsCenter's Olympic editions, and we'll serve up live first-round Davis Cup action. The NBA is heading our way with the Celtics and Sixers leading the charge, plus a slam dunk and old-timers classic. February means fisticuffs. Top-ranked boxing puts you ringside for 4 knockout live cards. FIS World Cup skiing returns to the slopes, and meet ESPN Sports Look for topical nightly sports talk. The rest of your February favorites are back. College basketball report, inside football, down the stretch, and inside the PGA Tour will warm up your winter. Get set for a total sports February on ESPN.